Sorry?
Have you been here all this time?
Yeah, I have. I had to come and get the completion in it. You definitely on that cliffhanger.
Yes, sir. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واضرب لهم مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض فأصبح هشيما تذروه الرياح وكان الله على كل شيء مقتدرا المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and elders, following from yesterday's dars where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a specific example of two friends or two relatives. One of them was boasting about his orchards and the wealth that Allah had given him, and he was a disbeliever. And the other was a Muslim and was poor. Both of them were walking inside his garden, and the rich one, the Kafir, began to boast over his wealth, and he also began to reject Qiyamah, etc. And the Muslim gave advice, and then eventually, the end of the story, that person who had everything lost everything. And the lesson from that story is that this dunya is temporary. The happiness of this dunya is also temporary. The sorrow of this dunya is also temporary. So in yesterday's dars, the example was specific about two men. In today's dars, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving example of the dunya in its entirety. Not just specific to people, but the whole dunya itself. Thus Allah says, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Relate to them the example of this worldly life, كَمَاءٍ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, which is like the rain that we send from the sky. Which is like the rain we send from the sky. فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ, with which the plants of the earth mingle. With which the plants of the earth mingle, and then what happens? It flourishes. It prospers, yes? Then what happens? فَأَصْبَحَ شِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحِ. Thereafter, there become debris, yes, bits, the crops or the flowers, they become dry, grey, and the wind comes in, تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحِ, which is carried by the wind. And what happens? Nothing remains. So it's a beautiful garden. It looks really good, pleasing to the eye, very appealing, stupendous, marvelous, fantastic. But only for a short while. You see yellowness penetrate the leaves and the roots of that beautiful orchard and garden, and then what happens? A small wind comes and saffan saffa, dakkan dakka, as though nothing even existed there. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. Allah has control over everything. Al-malu wal-banuna zinatul hayat dunya. Then Allah says, the wealth and the children that you have in this dunya, they are mere adornment, beautification. That's it. And what happens to beauty? Does it last forever? Beauty does not last. And Allah has mentioned these two specifically, children and wealth. Because that's what a person usually, especially in their last stage of life, something they will continue boasting about, wealth and children. In fact, there is the verse of the Quran which is similar to this, where? Surah Hadith. Allama Jangir. Surah Hadith. Surah Hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the dunya in its entirety, but He explicates 4 stages. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. The entirety of this dunya is beautification, yes, but it has these 4 stages. How many stages? 4. Number 1, la'ib, play. Number 2, lahu, amusement of futility or entertainment. Number 3, zina, beautification, adornment. And number 4, boasting and rivalry in children and wealth. And notice that these 4 stages, they occur in this manner in a person's life. The chronology of these 4 stages is in accordance to a person's life. Subhanallah. When a person is small, child, toddler, what stage is that? Live, playing with toys, etc. Then he grows up, teenager, teens, entertainment, lahu. Yes? And then, just before marriage and post-marriage, although it doesn't last for long, is the zina, the beautification, the drip. Aage bhi shisha, piche bhi shisha, kabhi is kande ko, kabhi us kande ko, sometimes this angle, sometimes this angle. Yes? And then what's the 4th stage? The 4th stage is when the person, white hair appears in the head and beard. This is the final stage.
One foot in the grave as well.
Yeah. Obviously with the hair you get buried. These 4 stages. Yes? And subhanallah, these 4 stages, if you think carefully, on each stage, everyone there realizes the previous stage was a deception. That the previous stage was a deception. For example, when you are in your first stage, infancy and toddler and child, you play with your small toys, yes? But when you become older, if your parents remind you, okay, beta, remember you used to play with it, no, that wasn't me, no, don't remind me, yeah? Embarrassed. Why? Because you realize that stage was a child, waste of time, just toys. So you realize that was a deception. Now when in your teens and you grow older and you become married and somebody reminds you regarding your teens, what do you say? We were young, naive, we used to mess about, it was waste of time. Yeah? We want other people that don't go through what we've been through. So on each stage, each interval of time, a person acknowledges, accepts and concedes that the previous stage was nothing but a deception. So Allah is saying that these 4 stages, in the entirety you will realize their deception once you move into the akhirah. When you move into the akhirah, what will you realize? Yeah, all those 4 stages was a deception. This is why Allah concludes the verse with وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ, that the worldly life is nothing but assets of deception. What does assets of deception mean? Dhoke ka saman. What's dhoke ka saman? Allah give example in different verses of the Quran. كَالسَّرَابِ يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ مَاءً. Mirage. When a person hallucinates, when in the Sahara desert, you see in the horizon you see water. You're hallucinating because you're so thirsty. You think, if I walk there, I'll find water. What happens when you reach there? Nothing. It's a deception. Then you look back and you think, no. It's there. I can see it now. It has to be there. Once I'm there, I'm settled. Then you make an effort. You exert in that intense heat. When you reach there, what happens? Kuch bhi nahi. Nothing. And then you look up again and you see another mirage. Like this, you endeavor, you try, you make an effort, and you end up getting nothing and you die. This is deception. This is dunya. Work till 40, and then what will happen? You will have time for the masjid. When 40 comes, you go overtime. Because you need to get your children married off. And you've got bills. Yes? And you've got a mortgage. And you've got debt. When slowly that comes off, then what? Then you want to invest something in Pakistan to get stable. And how old are you now? You're past 60 now, your legs are dangling in the grave. But you're worried about a koti. Yeah. Isn't that the case? Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, Yahru ibn Adam, that the son of Adam becomes weak and old. وَيَشِبْ مِنْهُ اثْنَانِ. There's two things always remain young in his body. Number one, al-hirs al-umar wal-hirs al-mal. Greed for wealth and greed for age. Even 70 years old man will say, no, Queen died 95. I'm okay. Nobody wants to die. Doesn't matter how old they are, they still have hope. And wealth, doesn't matter how much wealth you accumulate, you're always looking for the next stage. So this is deception. Isn't this deception? Allahu Akbar. Imam Al-Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi has written that the pious Salaf, after the age of 40, they would wrap up their bistar, they would wrap up their sleeping bags and say that most of our life has passed now, we're going to sleep little and worship more because we've got less time. What do? After 40, we start overtime. And if this come to us, the retiring age now?
67.
Yeah, basically, until you die. Yeah, don't stop working. And so many people, they go to work and they die. They don't even get, this fantasy and this lie that you've been sold, retiring, the time when you can go on some beach in Fiji Island, yes, and you can relax for a few decades, is a lie, it's a deception. You've got time now, brothers. If you've got today is the time to prepare for death. Not after retirement, not after you settle. And there's no such thing, once I, inshallah, get stable financially, and I get all these things, then I'm going to connect, and I'm going to connect properly. Yeah? How do you know you're going to make it till then? How do you know you'll get that chance to live till then? And even if you do live till then, how do you know Allah will give you tawfiq? We risk so much sometimes because of deception, because of false hope. So Allah says, Al-malu wal-banuna zinatul hayat al-dunya. Wealth and sons are merely adornments. Temporary possession, my dear brothers. Alhamdulillah, the ni'mah from Allah. Wealth is a big ni'mah from Allah. Children are a big ni'mah from Allah. But these things which are ni'mah, they can also become your fitna, your test. How many people are, because of their children, they're on the verge of suicide, parents. They're so upset. Don't know what to do. So many parents. You ask around, look around, in your own family. Same children were supposed to be a means of your comfort, your support, end up turning into your big test. It's from Allah. So yes, we try, of course, we do what we can, but ultimately we need to know that this is a zina of the dunya, it's a beautification of the dunya. And there have been cases where, I mentioned this story a few times before, where the father cannot live in the house anymore because of the children. In Bradford there was such a case. The brother came up to me and said to me, Maulana, I'm moving. I said, why? You've been here for so many years, 20, 25 years. He says, my son has started to beat me up. Honestly, I couldn't, every time I think of the story, I start crying. He said, my son has started to beat me up, and nobody's saying anything. I got really angry. I said, tell him to come and visit me. See how hard he is. He beat his old father up, He'd been doing taxi all his life. And now the father could not stay in the house because while the son, yes, he goes to the gym and he puts a few muscles on him, he's pushing his dad around. So his father goes, it's best if I don't stay because it's causing a lot of toxic environment, and it's okay if I move, as long as my children are together. So, Allahu Akbar. So many cases like this. It's a sign of Qiyamah too. Disobedient children and angry children. There was one child, he beat two children, two kids up in 1 hour. So I said, why do you do this? I've got anger issues. You're lucky you live in 2025, but then you've got anger issues. The father says, yeah, he's got anger issues. You know, he gets angry. So he does these things. Hi. This is what time we're living in. You have to look at the feelings. Hungry. Are you okay? Ice cream cow. Anything else? You can swear, don't worry. You take ice cream laddu because you are hungry. And respect, dignity of the father, respect of the elders. I mentioned. Anybody used to say, my ustad said to him, call your father. I said, don't call my dad. Do what you want with me, don't call my father. He said, tell children now, I'm going to call your father if you mess about. I'll call him. He knows, can't do anything. Anyway, Al-Malu wal-Banun Zinatul Hayati Dunya. Wealth and children are beautification of this worldly life. Wal-Baqiyatu Salihat Khayrun inda Rabbika. The lasting good deeds are better, are best in the sight of your Rabb. Wa khayrun amala, and best in terms of hope and expectation. Now there's a few interpretations. What does it mean by lasting good deeds? Wal-Baqiyatu Salihat. In one hadith, the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, what are baqiyatu salihat? He said, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. The zikr, doing this zikr will stay in the akhirah with huge reward. Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu ta'ala says, baqiyatu salihat, lasting good deeds is saying, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. In fact, as Jabir radiallahu ta'ala says, the la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is so effective. It is a remedy for 99 illnesses, and the least of is anxiety and depression. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So if you are suffering from anxiety, or you're worrying, zikr. Do zikr. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla. Inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will cure your heart, inshallah. Or one interpretation, wal baqiyat as-salihat, is referring to the 5 prayers. In one hadith, there's an indication that Baqiyat as-Salihat is referring to pious daughters. This is a feminine word, Baqiyat Salihat. And the hadith mentions that the father on the day of judgment, the Prophet Islam mentioned a father on the day of judgment who will be told to go to Jahannam, hell. And the daughters will grab onto him and say, Ya Allah, he raised us, he nurtured us, he looked after us. And there will be a means of his entrance into Jannah. But it can be general, lasting good deeds. Anything that you do good, any good act you do, fasting, Salah, dhikr, Quran, helping your Muslim brother, helping your parents, helping your neighbor, helping the elderly, giving iftar, doing khidmah in the masjid, whatever good deed you do, inshallah, it will be included in wal-baqiyat as-salihat. So the lasting good deeds, all the actions that you do, they are better in the sight of your Rabb in terms of reward. Why? Because you will get rewarded for this. The wealth that you get in the dunya, there is no reward in the akhirah. And also, in terms of expectations. Because who's going to reward you? Allah. So when Allah is going to reward you, your expectation will be much higher. Your hopes will be much higher. There is guarantee because Allah will be rewarding you. The one who is eternal, the one who is everlasting, the one who doesn't need anything, he will be rewarding you. Inshallah. We'll stop here because I think we sped up a bit yesterday and I just realized we might finish a bit too early. So
You're not getting enough questions?
Yeah, mashallah, because you're quiet for some reason. What's happened, Jackie? Somebody told you off? Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdihi.
جزاك الله شكرا.